The Mexican monster is for real. David Benavidez stops Demetrius Andrade at the end of the 6th round to prove that he is, if not the man at 168 pounds, then perhaps the next in line. Will we see Canelo Alvarez versus David Benavidez in 2024? I hope so. Let's take a look. So this past weekend, we saw David Benavidez retain his interim WBC super middleweight title with a crushing 6th round stoppage win over Demetrius Andrade. Now, we've never seen Demetrius Andrade lose before, and we've certainly never seen him manhandled and destroyed like we saw this past weekend by David Benavidez. The size, the pressure, the punch output was just too much for Demetrius Andrade, and David Benavidez gets that massive stoppage win and puts himself at the front of the queue for an all-action bout with Canelo Alvarez next year. This past weekend, we saw David Benavidez come out in those early rounds and just take his time, have a look at Demetrius Andrade, catch Andrade's biggest shots, and then come back with a vengeance, picking up the pace in the 3rd round before a massive right hand in the 4th round changed the fight completely, sending Demetrius Andrade to the canvas, and from there it was one-way traffic for the Mexican monster. Andrade bravely dragged himself to his feet. It was, of course, the biggest bout of Demetrius Andrade's career to date, and he didn't go down without a fight, but it was simply too outgunned by David Benavidez, the younger, bigger, fresher man in there on Saturday night, who closed the show spectacularly at the end of the 6th round with Demetrius Andrade's corner unwilling to send him out for further punishment. Here's what David Benavidez had to say following the fight on Saturday night.
I know how hard I worked in this camp, and like I've been telling everybody for a long time that the fights are won in the training camp. I didn't leave any stone unturned in the training camp. I worked my ass off, and I think it just shows. I mean, there's a lot of critics that say Boo Boo's gonna outbox me, that my defense is not good, I'm gonna get hit. They said the same thing with Caleb Plant, and I continue to keep shutting all the critics up. You know, you guys say I can't do something, but I go in there and I look completely different than what you guys think I'm gonna look like, you know, so it's better the critics to keep their mouths shut because I'm listening to everything you guys are saying.
So that was David Benavidez recapping what was a career best performance and result for him this past weekend. But in the other corner, there was, of course, another man, Demetrius Andrade, the formerly unbeaten 2-weight world champion. Here's what he had to say to us following the first stoppage defeat of his career.
It was a great fight, and I put it on the line, and we're going to be right back at it. Coming up in my 3rd division, and fought the big guy up there, and we did what we had to do. Congratulations to him.
Was David more tough or anything that he brought to the fight you wasn't expecting?
That's his weight class. You know, I went up to the weight class and did to be great, and we're going to be back at it again.
So that was Demetrius Andrade looking a little bit banged up and worse for wear, and who can blame him after this past weekend? David Benavidez with a career best performance, showing that offensive onslaught that we've all come to know him for, and now stands at the head of the queue for that massive bout with a certain Saul Canelo Alvarez.
But look, I hear his dad talking a lot of shit. But look, he's accomplished nothing. One single champion, Anthony Dirrell. Please, don't disrespect myself. Please, guys.
So that was Canelo Alvarez speaking last year about a potential bout with David Benavidez. Will we see that next? It's tough to say. Canelo is, of course, one of the most marketable faces in all of boxing. He can really pick and choose where he goes. It could be up to the WBC to order David Benavidez, their interim champion, against Canelo Alvarez, but we don't know whether or not that will happen. But one thing's for sure, David Benavidez has really separated himself from the rest of the crowd at 168 pounds, and a bout with the undisputed champion seems to be one of the very biggest fights in boxing. Now, how will that fight go? I think we saw this past weekend. David Benavidez is improving. He's still very young and gets better each and every time out, whereas the consensus is that Canelo Alvarez may be slipping, may not be the same fighter he was who tore through the super middleweight division, but he is still undisputed champion and one of the best fighters in boxing today. It's a massive fight. Canelo Alvarez versus David Benavidez. I hope we get to see it next year on Cinco de Mayo. Let us know who you think wins in the comments. Will it be Canelo Alvarez? Will it be David Benavidez? Let us know, and we'll catch up with you next time.